Sohitananda Ji Maharaj, revered Secretary Maharaj, Jayantananda Ji, other revered monks on the dais, revered monks sitting in the audience, and other respected monastic brothers, respected members of the Alumni Association, the Praktini Association, members of the teaching staff, the non-teaching staff, guests, and my dear students. It gives me immense pleasure to be here with you on this very significant occasion. Deoghar Vidyapith has completed 100 years of its existence. I owe an enormous debt to Deoghar Vidyapith. This is where I started my monastic life. In 1994, I joined as a brahmachari here in Deoghar Vidyapith. Under the guidance, the watchful eye, the training and the love of revered Swami Sohitananda Ji Maharaj. Whatever I am today, whatever work I am doing, I know the foundation was laid here in Deoghar Vidyapith. It was due to the close training and affection and unconditional love and support of revered Swami Sohitananda Ji Maharaj and his blessings and his prayers on our behalf, that today we understand what we owe to this place, to this institution, and it's been a sort of the golden years of our monastic life, the foundation of our monastic life. Not just me, a number of other monks who joined this, the Ramakrishna Math and Mission here in Deoghar Vidyapith will testify to what I have just said. But it's just not me or other monks. I noticed, and sometimes we talk among us, among the monks, that the students of the Vidyapith are a blessed lot. I have met students, alumni, who work in different parts of India, who live in different parts of India, different parts of the world. Today we have alumni here who have traveled all the way from the United States, from Europe, and from other parts of the world to come here, to be here together on this occasion. And you see that there is a kind of special blessings of Baba Vaidyanath, of Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sharada, and Swami Vivekananda, which is working in their lives. Sometimes, we think that here in Vidyapith, there are these two sides of Vidyapith. If you just look at it, the buildings, we just saw the magnificent lighting, when you, in that video, that first phase of the celebrations. And there you distinctly see that there is a temple in the middle. And then there are the school building, the gymnasium, the kitchen, the hostels, the office, all around. So there seem to be these two sides, the temple and the school. And often we may not understand the significance of both together. We sometimes think that they're two different things. So sometimes guardians or even students might feel this temple, this prayer, all of these activities are additional, optional. You can do without them. I've sent my son here to have a great career, to get a good education, maybe even a good training, moral training. That's good. Why this unnecessary prayer and meditation and chanting and temple? And sometimes we, as spiritual seekers, we would say, we have come here to be monks. I know, I at least had that misconception, that we have come here to be monks, we have come here for God realization, for meditation, for Vedantic study, devotion. And the school and the other activities, sometimes we used to feel there's too much work. I don't get enough time for meditation or study. So this is, I think, a limitation of our understanding on both sides. As I have understood slowly over the years, I begin to see that the temple and the school, that spirituality and education here are but two sides of the same reality. They are not different from each other. This is what I'm beginning to realize. What I want to touch upon here is something that I'm beginning to see in the world outside, there in New York where I am. Now there's a new wave of interest in spirituality, and that wave of interest is coming from science, from philosophy, from the study of from brain science, from artificial intelligence, Um, I just want to say a few words about that. Right now, what has happened is there's a burst of interest in something called consciousness studies. Right now, we are all here. We are all sitting here. And you're seeing, we are hearing. You taste the cup of tea. You smell, taste, touch, hear. These are all conscious experiences. We think, we remember, we desire, we hate, we become angry, we are awake, we dream, we sleep. All of these deal with one common factor, consciousness. Now, until recently, this was sort of sidelined. Very strangely enough, people did not pay much attention, scientists especially. They thought that somehow the brain generates consciousness. But in recent years, in the last 20, 30 years, there's been a burst of interest. Consciousness studies has become a hot topic now. If you Google it, you will find consciousness. You'll find almost every week there are new articles, new theories being propounded. It's a cutting edge of research, partly because of the new imaging technologies, fMRI scans and all, the new insight into the workings of the brain, partly also because of developments in robotics and AI. People are now interested in whether machines and computers can ever become conscious. What is the relationship between mind and consciousness? What is the relationship between intelligence and consciousness? So this is a big, big topic. One of the crucial areas in this consciousness studies, maybe the most important area, is called the hard problem of consciousness. So this is a term which was coined by a philosopher, David Chalmers. He's there in New York, in the New York University, Mind, Brain, Consciousness Unit. He's the head of that. The basic idea is, how is it that a physical system like the brain and the nervous system, how is it that that can generate a first-person subjective experience? No other thing in this world, that camera, this podium, microphone, computers, none of them have any internal feeling. But we have internal feelings. We have a subjective state, which is basically what we call our life, awareness, consciousness. And how is it possible that a physical thing can generate consciousness? This is the big question. This is called the hard problem of consciousness. Whatever our conscious experiences, there are correlates in brain activity. But how brain activity can generate consciousness, this is the so-called hard problem of consciousness, and there is no answer to it. There's really no way of answering it. And so now there is this huge new thing in consciousness studies and the philosophy of mind, that maybe it's possible that consciousness is an ultimate reality, is a separate reality. It's not something that is generated by brains or nerve activity of the neurons. Consciousness is separate, independent reality, along with this material reality. This theory is called panpsychism. This is where, for the first time, brain science, modern philosophy of mind, is becoming interested in ancient Indian theories, philosophies of consciousness, in Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, in certain theories, certain schools of Buddhism. Professor Evan Thompson, who is a professor of philosophy at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, in his book, Waking, Dreaming, Being, at the beginning he writes, so it's a book about consciousness studies. In the beginning he writes, consciousness studies is not a new field. It is in fact a very ancient field. It started with the Upanishads of ancient India. And then he goes on to say, the Upanishads of ancient India are so significant, a significant advance in civilization, in human civilization, that we instead of dating our history in AD and BC, we should date our history before Upanishad and after Upanishads. So this is the kind of importance that Western thinkers, world thinkers now, in philosophy, in brain science, in psychology, they're beginning to give importance and focus on consciousness studies. This is in fact the central truth which we, in Vedanta, we speak about, that our real nature, our Atman, innermost reality is consciousness. What are we? We are consciousness. And what is that? In the temple, Baba Dham, that is a representation of pure consciousness, the ultimate reality, Shiva. when Shankaracharya sings, Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham, he is giving voice to this ultimate identity that our reality and the reality of Baba Vaidyanath, the reality of Sri Ramakrishna is one reality. We think that we are just these bodies and minds. We are this, I'm a monk, I'm an alumni, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a little kid in class 6 or 7 or 8. That is true, but deeper. There is a deeper identity, more fundamental identity, which is this consciousness. This is what Vedanta has been saying for thousands of years. And now there is a new insight, from a new direction. The same truth is being rediscovered and presented and taught in a new way. These are not two different worlds. What I want to say here is that the world of science, of modern knowledge, of education, and the world of Baba Vaidyanath and Sri Ramakrishna, these are not two different worlds. They are in fact the same reality. This is basically the philosophy of Sri Ramakrishna when he says Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. We just heard how Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of spirituality, of embodiment of Indian spirituality for thousands of years, Sri Ramakrishna says, he is going on a pilgrimage to Kashi, comes to Baba Vaidyanath, goes to Banaras, to Kashi. On the way, here in Vaidyanath Dham, he sees these starving people, and he tells his benefactor, Mathura Babu, Mathura Mohan, to provide for food and give them some gifts. He starts this work. Spirituality and work are not two different dimensions. So it is one reality, two aspects of that. Swami Vivekananda's Atmano Mokshartham Jagat Hitayacha, for your own liberation, for our own enlightenment, and for the welfare of the world. These seem to be this, and at first seems to be two different ideals. But now, in the philosophy of Sri Ramakrishna, the philosophy of Ma Sharada and Swami Vivekananda, they are shown as the same ideal. It is something that we as monks try to embody. It is something that Vidyapith embodies. That's why we have the temple and the school in the same campus, on the same pattern. You see, the design is the same. What we are doing in the temple is what we are doing in the school. What we are doing in the school, in the playground, in the office, in the kitchen, in the dham, is also the same philosophy is expressed in the temple. So this magnificent new presentation of a very ancient ideal, this continuity between Baba Dham and the temple here in Vidyapith, continuity between Baba Dham and Vidyapith. This is the Swami Vivekananda, he was called the meeting point of the East and the West. He was called the meeting point of the past and the future. Vidyapith is that meeting point of the East and the West. Vidyapith is that meeting point of the past and the future. I pray to Baba Vaidyanath, Thakur Ma and Swamiji to bless all of us present here. May our lives be blessed, and may we continue to be a blessing to others. Thank you so much.